The sharp rapping on my door echoed through the quiet morning, like a woodpecker gone wild. Setting down my coffee, I stood up and walked to the entrance, already preparing for a confrontation. This wouldn't be a cheerful neighbor dropping by with a plate of cookies. Through the peephole, I spotted a woman in her 50s, clutching a clipboard like it was her last lifeline. Her face twisted into an expression of pure fury. I opened the door halfway, and before I could say anything, she shot me a look of righteous accusation. "I know exactly what you're doing here, and it stops today," she hissed. Her name tag read, Margaret Thornberry, HOA President, and she wielded that title like a knight wielding a sword. "Can I help you?" I asked, keeping my voice level despite the urge to laugh at her dramatic stance. "Don't play dumb with me," she snarled. "This property has been vacant for 6 months. You can't just break in and squat here. I've already called the police." I raised an eyebrow. "Ma'am, I think there's been a misunderstanding." "Save it for the authorities," she snapped, poking me with her pen like it was a weapon. "I have photographic evidence of you trespassing. The Maplewood Estates HOA has zero tolerance for criminals." I could hear sirens drawing closer, and Margaret's face lit up with smug satisfaction. A sheriff's cruiser pulled into my driveway, and Deputy Martinez, someone I knew from the courthouse, stepped out. "Your Honor," he said, tipping his hat with genuine respect. "I didn't know you'd moved into the neighborhood. Is everything all right here?" Margaret's clipboard slipped from her fingers, clattering on the concrete. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. Your Honor," she stammered. "Let me explain," I began. And with a deep breath, I recalled how I'd inherited my late Aunt Eleanor's vacation home 3 weeks earlier. After 20 years of practicing law, and recently being appointed as a circuit court judge, I needed a break from the chaos of the city. Maplewood Estates seemed perfect, quiet, private, and tucked away 45 minutes from downtown. I'd kept a low profile, parking my modest sedan in the garage, avoiding community meetings, and keeping to myself. But Margaret Thornberry, the self-appointed queen of the HOA, had other plans. The HOA was her personal fiefdom, where she knew everything about everyone, from their social security number to their cereal preferences. The trouble began when I failed to submit the necessary HOA registration paperwork. I had been busy processing my aunt's estate and adjusting to suburban life. But to Margaret, this was the By the end of the first week, she had compiled a binder, complete with color-coded tabs and a table of contents, titled Evidence of Illegal Occupation at 427 Oak Ridge Drive. She reported my criminal behavior to her lieutenant, Janet, and together they began recruiting others in the neighborhood to join their investigation. Her paranoia intensified when she noticed I had furniture delivered. "He's not just squatting," she declared. "He's moving in permanently." She filed a formal complaint with the HOA board, which she conveniently chaired, and the board voted unanimously to pursue legal action. The drama reached its peak when Margaret, along with her henchmen, staged a so-called citizens' intervention at my doorstep. On that Saturday morning, they arrived, cameras rolling, 911 on speed dial, and an agenda to force me out of my own home. I answered the door in jeans and an old law school t-shirt, which Margaret later called the uniform of a professional vagrant. She demanded I provide proof of ownership, which I calmly refused. "This is private property," I said, closing the door. That's when she called the police, accusing me of threatening her. A complete lie. 2 weeks later, frustrated by the police's refusal to act, Margaret filed a civil lawsuit seeking an emergency injunction to remove me from the neighborhood and demanding $50,000 in damages. Her attorney, blinded by her conviction, never bothered to run a property check or verify my identity. If they had, they would have quickly discovered that I was the one who owned the property. The case was assigned to my court. I could have recused myself, but where's the fun in that? Especially after everything Margaret had put me through. The courtroom was packed on that Thursday morning, and Margaret was there, sitting with her attorney and an entourage of supporters. Her lawyer began with dramatic flair. "Your Honor, we are here today to address a grave threat to the safety and security of Maplewood Estates." I cut him off. "Has your client verified the ownership of the property?" "Well, no, Your Honor," the attorney stammered, "but we have photographic evidence." I raised an eyebrow. "Photographic evidence of suspicious behavior?" Margaret couldn't hold back anymore. She leaped to her feet. "This man is a fraud. He's probably not even employed. I demand justice." I turned my gaze to her. "Mrs. Thornberry, would you care to explain to the court why you've spent the last 3 weeks stalking, harassing, and defaming a sitting circuit court judge?" The courtroom erupted in murmurs. Margaret's face turned pale, and her attorney looked like he wanted to disappear. Margaret stammered, I had no idea." "Ignorance is no defense for harassment," I replied calmly. I turned to the court clerk. "Please note for the record that I'm filing countercharges for harassment, defamation, trespassing, and filing a false police report. I'm also recommending this case for review by the state bar." Margaret's attorney went white. "Your Honor, surely we can—" "No," I interrupted. "And Mrs. Thornberry will also pay all court costs, my attorney fees, and $10,000 in punitive damages to be donated to the local Fair Housing Alliance." Margaret collapsed into her chair, horrified. "How much will this cost me?" she asked her attorney, who grimly replied, "Probably close to $30,000, and that's if you avoid criminal charges." The reality hit Margaret like a ton of bricks. Her 3 weeks of harassment had just cost her a year's salary, and her reputation was in ruins.